The laugh wasn't subtle. It wasn't whispered. It wasn't accidental. It came through the broadcast speakers, live, sharp enough to slice through the pre-match tension. She looks slower this season, the commentator chuckled. Let's see how long she lasts tonight. A few awkward laughs followed in the booth. But on the court, under the glaring lights, Serena Williams stood still at the baseline, racket in hand, eyes forward, unblinking. That was the first shock. She didn't react, didn't glance toward the commentary box, didn't adjust her posture defensively. She just bounced the ball once, twice, 3 times. The stadium was packed. Finals night energy. The kind where every whisper carries. Every foot shuffle echoes. Her opponent across the net tried to look relaxed, shoulders loose, racket twirling, but the anticipation in her eyes betrayed her. The commentator's voice returned, still light. You can't rely on legacy forever. That line lingered in the air like humidity before a storm. The crowd murmured. Because legacy wasn't the only thing Serena carried. She carried history, pressure, expectation, and a serve that had rewritten the physics of women's tennis. The chair umpire called, time. Serena stepped to the line. The noise dipped into that rare, electric silence reserved for first serves in championship matches. You could hear the ball being squeezed in her palm. The inhale, the exhale. Up in the booth, the commentator cleared his throat, ready to continue analysis. He didn't get the chance. The toss rose perfectly, high, balanced, suspended against the stadium lights like it had nowhere else to be. Her shoulder rotated, her back arched, her body coiled, and then, impact. The sound wasn't just loud. It was violent, a crack that echoed off concrete and steel. The ball blurred past the net, slicing air with precision. Her opponent didn't move, didn't even twitch. The ball hit the service box and exploded off the surface, skidding past before anyone fully processed it. Ace. The line judge's voice snapped the crowd out of shock. Radar gun flashed on the screen. The number blinked. Higher than expected. Higher than average. Higher than the commentator's confidence. The stadium erupted. Not gradual applause. An eruption. Because that wasn't just a first serve. It was a message. Up in the booth, silence swallowed the microphone for a beat too long. Then, well, that's one way to start. But the tone had shifted. It wasn't amused anymore. It was tight. Measured. Serena didn't celebrate wildly. She didn't glare at the booth. She didn't pump her fist dramatically. She simply turned, walked to the baseline, and prepared for the next point. Like it was routine. Like silencing doubt was part of her warm-up. Second serve. Another toss. Another crack. Not an ace this time, but unreturnable. Her opponent's racket met nothing but air again. 15-0 became 30-0 in seconds. The commentator tried to recalibrate. Strong start, he said carefully. But it's early. The crowd didn't buy the neutrality. They felt the shift. Serena bounced the ball again. This time, the pause before her serve felt deliberate, like she was letting the silence stretch. The toss rose. The swing followed. Another laser down the tee. Her opponent lunged late. The ball clipped the line. Ace. The stadium rose to its feet. 40-0. The camera cut briefly to the commentary booth. The man who had laughed earlier adjusted his tie. He wasn't smiling anymore, because what he had dismissed as slower looked surgical. What he called relying on legacy looked like evolution. Game point. Serena exhaled slowly. No theatrics, just intention. The serve rocketed wide this time, dragging her opponent off the court. A weak return floated back. Serena stepped forward, planted, and crushed the forehand into the open space. Winner. Game. Under a minute. The stadium thundered. Not just because she won the first game, because of how she won it. The first serve hadn't just scored a point. It had silenced a narrative. Up in the booth, the commentator swallowed before speaking again. Perhaps we underestimated her pace tonight. Perhaps. The understatement hung awkwardly in the air. As the match continued, Serena's rhythm intensified. Every serve precise. Every return heavy. Her footwork sharp, economical, efficient. This wasn't nostalgia tennis. This was present tense dominance. Between games, she walked calmly to her chair, towel draped over her shoulders. No eye contact with the booth. No acknowledgement of the earlier remark. She didn't need to defend herself verbally. The radar gun had done it. The scoreboard had done it. The silence after that first serve had done it. By the end of the first set, The energy in the stadium had completely transformed. What began as cautious curiosity had turned into awe. Every time she stepped up to serve, the crowd leaned forward, anticipating impact. Not hoping, expecting. At set point, she tossed the ball once more. The same motion, the same precision. Another ace down the line. The stadium exploded again. Up in the booth, the laughter from earlier felt distant. Embarrassing. Irrelevant. When she walked to the net at the end of the match, victorious, she offered her opponent a firm handshake and a nod of respect. Then she waved to the crowd. Calm, controlled, unbothered. In the post-match interview, the reporter hesitated before asking, "Did you hear the commentary before the match?" Serena tilted her head slightly. "I hear everything," she said evenly. A small smile touched her lips. "But I focus on the serve." The crowd roared again, not just in celebration, but in recognition. Recognition of composure, of precision, of a response delivered without a single raised voice. Serena handed the microphone back and lifted a hand to the stands. No dramatic chest pound, no exaggerated celebration, just a steady wave, the kind that says, "I expected this." Back in the commentary booth, the atmosphere had completely shifted. The same man who had laughed earlier now leaned closer to his mic, voice noticeably restrained. "That was a masterclass in serving," he admitted. "Her timing tonight is exceptional." Exceptional. The word felt heavier than it should have, because only 30 minutes earlier, the narrative had been about decline. Now it was about dominance. The broadcast replayed the first serve again. Slow motion. The toss floating like it had been measured with instruments. The shoulder rotation flawless. The contact point impossibly clean. The radar number flashed once more on screen. The crowd inside the stadium reacted all over again, as if reliving the shock in real time. Because that first serve hadn't just been fast. It had been intentional. In the player tunnel, her opponent paused before leaving the court for good. She was locked in, she told her coach quietly. There was no bitterness in her tone, just respect. Every time I thought I had a red, she changed the angle. That's what elite does. It adapts mid-thought. In the locker room, Serena sat calmly while a trainer handed her water. The noise from the stadium echoed faintly through concrete walls. Her phone buzzed on the bench beside her, messages pouring in. Fellow athletes, former champions, analysts. One text read, "First serve was personal." She smirked slightly. Not personal, professional. Meanwhile, online clips were spreading at ridiculous speed. Side-by-side edits appeared. Commentary laugh. Ball toss. Ace. Captioned simply, silence. Within minutes, sports outlets began rewriting their headlines. Serena shuts down doubt in opening game. Veteran power on full display. The serve that reset the narrative. The shift was undeniable. Back in the booth, producers whispered through headsets. Keep tone neutral. Focus on stats. Don't revisit pre-match comments. The commentator nodded subtly. He understood now. When you question greatness publicly, you better be ready for the response to be just as public. In the press conference later that evening, a journalist leaned forward. Did the pre-match skepticism motivate you? Serena folded her hands calmly on the table. I don't need skepticism, she replied. The room went quiet. I've been doing this long enough. A small pause. My motivation is internal. Pens moved quickly across notebooks. Cameras zoomed slightly closer. No hostility. No calling out names. Just clarity. Outside the stadium, fans gathered around large screens replaying the highlights. Every time that first serve cracked through the speakers, people flinched again, as if feeling the shockwave for the first time. That's not slow, someone muttered in the crowd. Nope, another replied. That's elite. Later that night, the commentator sat alone reviewing the broadcast footage. He watched the laugh, watched the serve, watched the immediate shift in tone. He sighed, because sometimes analysis drifts into assumption. An assumption gets corrected fast at that level. In her hotel room, Serena placed her racket carefully on the table. She didn't replay the laugh. She didn't replay the headlines. She replayed the serve, the toss, the strike, the silence. That silence was her favorite part, not the crowd's eruption after, the fraction of a second before it, when the entire stadium held its breath, when doubt paused, when momentum shifted permanently. Because tonight wasn't about proving someone wrong. It was about reminding everyone what right looks like. And it sounded like one clean, thunderous crack of a racket, followed by silence.